What is up? It is Timmy Joe, and it is almost the end of 2016. I could taste it.
2, 1, happy 2000.
But I don't have much to complain about. We've been doing good here on YouTube. Hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. I got some stuff I'm going to review for Christmas. Some good technology stuff. But what I thought was a pretty good video I've done the last couple of weeks here was the top 8 most anticipated technologies coming in 2017. And one of those items was a bezel-less smartphone idea. But what I thought was I would expand upon the cell phone stuff because I am a connoisseur of the smartphone. I have one right here. I mean, the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus, and it's coming up on contract, so I get to buy a new smartphone this year. So go ahead and cue an intro, and I'm going to talk all about my favorite smartphones and the top 8 anticipated smartphones coming in 2017. Smartphones. I mean, everyone's got one, and whether you're playing Candy Crush or Pokemon Go or you're browsing Tinder, I mean, you need one in your pocket. And if you're a big tech nerd like me, you probably, I've kind of been happy because things have been really good in the smartphone space. Not a lot has changed because in the last couple of years, the technology's moved far enough along, and all the competitors have had to, all the different manufacturers have been competing well enough that there has been like this boom of all the cameras are pretty damn good. Has that stagnation, there's going to be some pretty cool technologies that come in the next couple of years. And in my video, the top 8 most anticipated technologies of 2017, I talked about the Galaxy S8 and iPhone being rumored to have bezel-less displays, meaning like 90% of the screen real estate on the front will be the screen, and the camera and the touch sensor and the speaker is all going to be built in there. So when you look at the phone, it's all display, and that stuff's pretty damn cool. And I think that is a big theme of what a lot of the models are going to be doing. But I'm going to talk about 8 of the technologies and the different manufacturers and the phones coming out, and one of some of the common themes. But I'll also explain my relationship with said manufacturer. So let's start off with Samsung. I had the Note 1 and 2. I had the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus. So I'm pretty familiar with Samsung's, the way they do things. I had a few other phones in between. I had one of the first Galaxy cameras that came out that was also a smartphone. So I know where they go, and they do really good. Except for exploding Note 7s, they do really good at just making a really great smartphone. But usually they're very expensive, and you pay that like iPhone premium price for them. But the Galaxy S8 isn't going to change that at all. In fact, if anything, it's going to push the envelope even further for price and features, because it's probably going to be one of the first smartphones, probably going to be delayed a little bit just to make sure the batteries don't explode. But in the first couple of months in 2017, you'll see the Galaxy S8 revealed, probably at Mobile World Congress or an event, like days before it. It's usually what Samsung does. And what it's going to have is a bezel-less display, like a full display. And what that's going to allow them to do is on the Galaxy S7 had the just the kind of normal version and then the Edge version. Well, I think that all of them are going to be kind of curvy like this, but there is going to be a smaller, probably somewhere in the area of 5.5 inch phone that that sounds big, but because the whole phone's going to be bezel-less, it's actually going to fit the same form factor as the 5-inch phone or the 5.1-inch phone used to. And then the 5.5-inch phone will move up to 6.2 inches, so a bigger display, but still the same footprint as the Galaxy S7 5.5-inch. So it'll be like, you're getting the same size phone with a bigger display that's a full bezel-less design. And it is rumored to have, of course, all the latest and greatest Snapdragon processors, or Samsung has its own brand of processors that it puts in its world versions usually. But one thing we might lose, and this is all Apple's fault, is the headphone jack. That is a big rumor that they're going to go the way of the iPhone and take it out of there, because they're going to have this bezel-less edge-to-edge display that they need all the room they can get, and they have the excuse to get rid of the headphone jack now. So you might have to say goodbye to it and buy some Bluetooth headphones, or some it'll be USB Type-C adapter or something like that, because everyone loves dongles. It might also have dual camera lenses. That's a huge theme of this year, is 2 different sensors. A lot of companies have already been doing this in 2016 with some great success, having like a zoom lens on it like iPhone does, so you get a little bit more natural zoom range, or a black and white sensor and a color sensor, so you get a better better bokeh and better contrast in your shots. So that might be a thing. It'll probably also have that Note 7 iris scanner built into it as well, so that's going to make a comeback. But I think the design language is going to be, you're seeing some renders and stuff in a video they're doing up here. It's going to remain relatively unchanged. Moving on to one of my favorite cell phone manufacturers of all time, and I mean of all time. I'm talking the 90s. I had at least 3 or 4 or 5 different Nokia phones. I had a smartphone before smartphones were even a thing. I had this Nokia candy bar phone that had a micro, or it was a MMC card, like an SD card slot, and it had the capability to add headphones and MP3 player to it, watch movies on it, use it on the internet with a web browser, way back in like 2004. So they're making a comeback. Now, Microsoft bought their mobile division a few years ago and ran it right into the ground with Windows Mobile OS. But Nokia retained the right, because they're a bigger company than just cell phones, to eventually make smartphones again. They are coming back. It's already set in stone, with a few different Android smartphones, which is pretty cool, which they should have done already a long time ago. And but they're going to be outsourcing, the creation of them and the manufacturing of them. So as long as they pick a really good company like Huawei, or a Chinese company or something that makes good smartphones to begin with, and put Nokia's flavor in it, I don't see it going wrong. Nokia has always been known for really good cameras, really good durability, and they're going to bring that in. There's a couple different models rumored. There is a D1C and a C1, which are going to be cheaper, kind of Qualcomm Snapdragon 4 series phones with only 1080p displays, for more of the cheaper side of things. But there is a rumored flagship P1 that should have all of the latest and greatest, with a 2K display and their 23 megapixel rear camera and a big battery in it, so and to run Android Nougat. So there are already some leaked photos, as you see up on the screen here, of what they're probably going to be looking like, pretty smartphone-esque. And they're not going to be, because they're coming into the game late here, they're not going to be running these bezel-less displays or really competing directly with the Samsungs and stuff like that, because they can't. But to see them come back in is just, I'm sure they'll do well, because they have a huge European market. People will be happy to see the Nokia brand back, and maybe in a few years we'll see like them, really take over and have some good phones that do compete with the high-end market. Moving on to the third, and one of my favorites, manufacturer or anticipated smartphone, the LG G6. The G6 is hopefully going to redeem LG. They had a rough year this year. The LG G3 and 4 did very well, because although they were plastic design and stuff like that, they still, they competed with Samsung directly, but were very, very much cheaper. Still had removable batteries, still had expandable storage, had big, awesome displays on them, really good cameras. And then last year they brought out the G5, and it was this modular design, and they made a gamble. Good on them for trying to gamble on something, but it did not work in their favor. The G5, it had very poor sales, and you can buy it, even though it is a very premium device, for like $0 on contract right now. But the V20 was very good, which was their bigger second display version of it, and it didn't have that modular design and stuff like that. And what they'll definitely do with the G6, the LG G6 and the V30, if that's what they're called, is just stick to the V20's design language and add all the newest features. Maybe make that screen bezel-less. They're definitely going to be adding 2 camera sensors on the back and a really good camera sensor up front, and maybe migrate that secondary display they have on the V20 into the G6 line. Who knows? But hopefully they can redeem themselves. I had a lot of LG phones, and I was always really happy with them because you could get that Samsung options in a little bit less premium of a casing, but all of the features were there, and that's what I really liked about them. So definitely love LG. Now, moving on to number 4, the HTC 11. HTC, I had a few of their phones, especially in the beginning, like, post iPhone coming out and stuff like that. HTC was a big player with like Windows Mobile in the beginning of smartphones, and they migrated over to Android very quickly. They were one of the original Nexuses, and they were amazing and were doing so well that they kind of went too close to the sun and thought they were untouchable, and started bringing out year after year the same specs on their screens, not increasing the size of their screens. They had these polycarbonate cases, added the secondary camera, but made it 4 megapixels on the back, which really didn't work in their favor at all, even though everyone ended up doing stuff like that eventually anyways. But they redeemed themselves in 2016 with the HTC 10. It was an amazing smartphone that really showed, and I actually considered buying it, that they were still capable of making this amazing handset that felt really premium, that had all the latest and greatest specs, and could compete, with the Samsungs of the world. And I think with them having the HTC Vive and some really good technologies doing well right now, they're going to just continue to put a lot of money and eggs in the mobile basket, and they should be able to squeak a little bit of market share, I think, as long as the HTC 11 is as good as the HTC 10 was. There's also rumors that it will have a secondary camera lens as well, I believe, and an edge-to-edge display, kind of bezel-less display. So I think that's where everyone's going, trying to get those bezels and chins as small as possible. But HTC probably won't do it as crazy as Samsung's going to. Moving on, I have the Oneplus One, and we're now going to be in 2017 on to the Oneplus 4. So Oneplus One did amazing. Oneplus 2 sucked it up. OnePlus 3 redeemed itself. It was much like the HTC this year. It was a surprise that it came back, and it was just, it worked. It did well. It had, a lot of the key features brought back that it was lacking. I think OnePlus being kind of this premium alternative is kind of stopped. Now, they do have some submodels that are cheap, but in the beginning, I bought the OnePlus One because it was very cheap to get a very premium handset and flagship qualities in a phone, but every year the price goes up. So I think they're just kind of competing with that mid-tier of phones now that has flagship qualities, and I'd like to see them bring something new out. Of course, they do have rumors that they're going to change up their design language a bit, and in the render I see here, they're adding a second camera sensor just like everyone else is. But what OnePlus has always been really good at is having huge storage and RAM on board, so they'll definitely be doing that. You might see even 8 gigabytes of RAM with the newest Snapdragon 830 or 835, and actually have 128 gigs of memory built in, so you don't need an SD card right off the hop, right on their lowest model. They're also rumored to make the back out of glass, so that's pretty cool too. Number 6, I couldn't decide if I wanted to make number 6 the Moto Z or the Sony Z1 or whatever they're calling it now. I looked up rumors on both the Moto and the Sony phones, and I couldn't, nothing's changed. I really liked Sony phones, and I like Sony makes really good image sensors. They make really good displays, but they don't tend to put them together and make a smartphone very well, or at least not a very popular one. And then Motorola was owned by Google, and then they're sold to Lenovo, and Lenovo makes smartphones, and then Moto comes out with this modular design as well that hasn't seen much updates. So are they going to stick with that modular design? I don't know. So my anticipation from Motorola and Sony is that maybe one of them gets off their arse and actually makes a really good smartphone that comes to the front of the line. Probably more so Motorola, because Motorola tends to, even their modular design phone, I see it everywhere. People have actually been buying them. They just don't use the features of like the different speakers and camera functions that you can put on the back of it. But as a phone, it does really well. And then where Sony comes in is they make really good mid-tier, mid-level phones that you get for $0 on contract, that, you know, they do their job well and people buy them, but they're not the best of the best, the iPhone or Samsung competitors. So hopefully one of those two guys will come up with a phone that really wows and impresses. Moving on to number 7. This is where I talk about the Pixel. Now, if there was any phone I would have upgraded and went out of my way to upgrade to this year, it was the Pixel. And the only reason I didn't do it was it looks terrible. If I could buy the blue one, maybe I'd do it, but you can't buy the blue one where I'm from. That weird glass backing just looks terrible, and the big chin on the bottom, you know, and I'm gonna put a case on it anyways, so I probably wouldn't care too much. I've played with it and I really like the brand new latest and greatest Android on it. But what I'm gonna be really happy for is when they bring out the Pixel 2 and they take all of the amazing features that the Pixel has and the amazing camera idea and put it, and this time have the time to actually make it look nice. So that's what I'm looking forward to, a Pixel 2 that's as good as the original with a bit of updated specs, the latest and greatest from Android, which will probably be Oreo. Android O will be Oreo, I bet. And when it launches, I will just be like, Fry, shut up and take my money. Last but not least, the 8th most anticipated cell phone of 2017 is the only one that isn't an Android on this list. And no, it's not the iPhone, because I don't care about iPhones. I've had an iPhone for work for over a year and I hated it. But that's not what we're talking about. I'll maybe talk about that in a second. Microsoft is going to try and make a phone again. They're going to try and replicate the success they've had with the Surface Book and their big Surface computer and their Surface tablets and bring it down into a form factor that is a cell phone. Now, Microsoft has had a hard time with this before, making their own OS. Even though they were one of the forerunners of the, mobile smartphone operating system with Windows Mobile, which was always really cool back in the day, way before iPhones. But they were never able to translate that into the sales and usability and available apps and stuff like that Android and iPhone did. So they weren't able to compete. But which operating system are they going to use? That is the question. Are they going to make some sort of a Windows watered down version that fits on mobile again? Is it going to be a full-fledged Windows 10 or 11 operating system for mobile that you're able to plug into a display, put a keyboard, and it is a full Windows system? Who knows? They did not have success with this before, but it would have to compete, and that remains to be seen. You see some renders of what it could look like, and that intrigues me, you know what I mean? So last but not least, iPhones are rumored to come out with some sort of edge-to-edge display. Who knows? It's totally possible. I don't care about iPhones. If you like iPhones, let me know in the comments. But this has been a long video talking about 8 different cell phones that are going to come out in 2017, and we'll see if I'm right with these rumors. I just grabbed, whatever I could off the internet and some renders and stuff like that, because until Mobile World Congress and CES is done, we won't know a whole lot. But we certainly do know that I think we've reached a point where the processors in cell phones, the screens, the cameras, they're all so good that the only way you're going to stand out from the pack is to really do something different, or make the complete best of all different worlds like Samsung does and shove it down into this little case that we carry around. So my name's Timmy Joe. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about, or if you're doing any shopping on Amazon, check the description below or leave some comments, whatever. I have an Amazon affiliate link. You can buy things. It helps me out. It helps you out because you save a little bit of money on Amazon. But you guys have a good day. My name is Timmy Joe, and I will see you later on this week for sure.